The burial vault manufacturing process can be a dirty job, but it's well worth it to provide high-quality burial vaults to the families that we service. Since our crew is relatively small, all of our vault techs are trained on both pouring and setting committal services, and my committal service wasn't scheduled until close to 2 o'clock this afternoon, so I helped out with the pouring process before heading out to the service. And even though we're a small company, it is important for us to keep an inventory of vaults ready to go for when funeral homes reach out to us for a committal service. And things currently have looked a little bleak in terms of our inventory. So today, we're pouring what we can with the guys that we have in the shop. I remember when I first started here over 8 years ago, and every single rack of burial vaults was filled up, and right now we're looking pretty thin. So while it might look like we have a lot of Continentals, this is the rack for the cream-colored Venetians. These are our white Venetians, and these are the racks that hold all of our Monticellos. And right now we've only got about 10 Monticellos when we normally keep at least 48 in this garage, and our overflow is in a different garage, so we're behind to say the least. So on some days we'll take 2 guys and pour at least 6 or 8 vaults just to try to keep up with the inventory. The first step of the process is taking the liners out of the back and getting them glued up and ready for the pouring process. Wilbert burial vaults take a 2-part solution that acts as an adhesive to adhere the concrete to the liner itself. And since the concrete is what protects the liner, it's important to make sure that that liner is adhered strongly to the concrete itself. While some people think the concrete is what seals the vault, concrete is actually porous. The concrete on these burial vaults actually protects the liner, which provides the seal. So each burial vault has 2 pieces, a base liner and a cover liner. The base liners are poured upside down in the forms, and the covers are poured right side up. For Wilbert burial vaults, the seal is installed before the gluing up process even happens, making sure that the seal is properly placed and adhered to the cover before the vault even gets painted or sent out to the cemetery. The good thing about working for a small company with a small crew is everyone knows their job and knows what needs to be done. If anyone is slacking or not doing what they should, it affects the rest of us immediately. It's not like a huge company where somebody can slack off and get away with it. Luckily for us, that's not something we have to worry about. We've got 6 great vault men and great vault pourers, and an awesome boss who can also go out and set services, the owner of the company who can set services, and multiple guys that we have on call in case things get really busy. It's incredibly rare, but there are days where we have 0 services. But there's also days where we have 14, and it's all hands on deck, and we always make sure that we can make it happen for not only the funeral homes that we provide our services for, but for those families as well. The last thing we would ever want to do is tell a family that our vault company is too busy to be able to accommodate the funeral on the day that the family chose. And yes, we did catch that we missed a spot on that Wilbert White Venetian liner, but now that most of the work has been done, we can put up our frame that holds our bases and get ready to start the pouring process. We have 1 man running the mixer, 1 man cleaning up after the pourer, and 1 man pouring the vaults. And that's me going to fix that spot on the White Venetian. We can now place the bases into the jackets and close up the jackets. Today we're pouring 4 Wilbert Monticellos, 3 Wilbert Continentals, and 2 Wilbert White Venetians, as well as 2 Trigard estates. And the Trigard pouring process is a little bit different. They use a different type of adhesive on their forms, and their forms are different because they can accommodate multiple different styles of vaults for each form. A Wilbert Monticello vault form is only for a Wilbert Monticello. Meanwhile, the Trigard estate and the Trigard Aegean can both be poured in the same form. Now it's time for Eric, the pour master, to make sure the concrete's good to go, and we are ready to pour the vaults that we are able to get done this month. Now, over the years of having a channel like this, I've had a lot of concrete guys who are professionals ask me about what grade of concrete or what type of concrete we use, and whether or not there's fiber, and all these different questions about concrete. Unfortunately, I'm just not educated in the matter. All I know is these things are hard as a rock and can stand up to almost anything in the cemetery. Our burial vaults that don't have a liner, like the Wilbert Monarch and the grave liners, They have rebar and wire mesh that helps stabilize the vault. With the liners on the other vaults, the rebar is placed in between the handles on the lids. And if I recall correctly, the last time that we ordered concrete, we ordered Type 3 concrete. If that means anything to you guys who are experts in the concrete business out there. While we pour the vaults, we hammer the outsides of the lid to make sure that there's no air pockets and air bubbles, and to help the concrete work its way down around the liner on the interior. On the bases, we use a vibrator to make sure that the air pockets and the concrete works its way down the longer sides of the bases. Once the lids are poured, I will use a small trowel to make sure that any of the excess concrete goes off the sides of the forms. This isn't to smooth out or give the vault any type of texture, this is just to get rid of the excess concrete. Later on, when the vaults harden up just a little bit, Eric will open up these molds and brush out the concrete, giving the vaults their signature Wilbert textured pattern. One of our other main jobs is to go around and clean up the concrete from the floor after the pouring process. If we didn't do that cleanup process, all this concrete would build up around the bases. And if you look closely, you can tell that underneath each one of the lids is actually a base of a concrete grave liner, and that's what we use to elevate the lids high enough for us to pour these vaults. One of the vaults that we're not pouring today is one of our metals. And when I say metal, I mean a copper, a bronze, or a stainless steel triune, which is 3 of the highest end burial vaults that we produce at our vault company. These vaults are much more labor intensive to prepare for the pouring process, but as you can see here, the result is well worth the extra effort. These vaults are absolutely gorgeous. To visualize, the darker metal with the masking tape on the top represents the inside of the burial vault. Right now I'm setting up a Wilbert Copper Triune, one of Wilbert's triple reinforced burial vaults. This vault has thicker concrete, it has the exact same liner, and it has copper on the interior that is pieced together and adhered to the interior liner itself. We begin by adding the very base of the burial vault. We then add the 2 longer sides. Until this can be glued up and adhered properly, we use masking tape to keep the pieces of the copper in place. This process is done identically for the stainless steel triune and also the bronze triune. On the back side of the pieces of copper are a protective film to make sure that the copper, the stainless, or the bronze stays clean during the manufacturing process. The ends of the copper fit snug over the bottom and over the sides, and once everything is fit into place, the sides of the copper have small flaps that tap down over the ends, securing the ends to the sides. The last piece of the metal that we need to apply is the corner pieces, and since these go over the bottom, sides, and the ends, we remove the protective film over that small piece that just fills in the corner of the burial vault. We then apply a strip of masking tape over the edge of the sides, which will later be covered up with an adhesive caulking. We also cover up where the metal meets the base, over the sides and the ends, making sure that none of the adhesive can seep through the 2 pieces of copper and find its way to the interior of the burial vault, which will be visible once the other protective film is removed, which is what you can see I'm doing here. Our goal for this process is to make the interior of the vault look completely flawless, whether it be bronze, stainless, or copper. The only burial vault on the market today that competes with a Wilbert Bronze, Wilbert Copper, or a Wilbert Stainless Steel is the Wilbert Bronze. And that vault is extremely rare to see, and some vaultmen go their entire careers without ever seeing one or installing one. Around 3 months ago, I was honored to take part in a service that was for the owner of our company, and she was laid to rest in a Wilbert Bronze. And I encourage you to go watch that video. It's incredibly beautiful, and it's a testament to the craftsmanship of Wilbert burial vaults in general. She is part of the reason that this vault company is still alive and thriving to this day, and I owe her a lot, and it was an honor to be a part of her service. The Wilbert Bronze is coated in bronze on the interior and the exterior in some areas. It is truly stunning. But now that the vault pouring process has begun, it only takes about 2 guys from this point on. So I'm going to go ahead and get some vaults ready for the upcoming days throughout the weekend. The first vaults that we're going to prepare are Trigard estates, and these vaults often need 2 coats on the base at times because the vault forms have no texture, so the concrete is incredibly smooth, and it needs 2 coats to make sure that we cover any type of air gaps and to cover up the date that the vault was manufactured. Trigard burial vaults are also produced without a seal installed in the liner. When the vaults are poured, the forms work better without a seal installed because the liners will sit flatter and the concrete will turn out better on the edges of the lid. So we install the seal afterwards. For Wilbert burial vaults and Trigard burial vaults, they have a standard set of colors. Most of the time, it's silver, copper, or gold, or bronze. But since we have a Sherwin-Williams right around the corner, if a family member or a funeral director requests us for any type of certain color, we can just request that color from Sherwin-Williams, and we can paint match basically any vault to any color that a family requests. Before we can install the seal underneath the lid, we need to install a butyl primer. This helps adhere the butyl to the underside of the lid. Now the butyl adhesive seal itself is already extremely adhesive, but while it's being installed and the lid is right side up, it has a tendency to want to fall out. So what we do is we install this butyl adhesive primer so that we can place the seal into the groove of the lid and then set the lid down on top of the base, which not only presses the seal into the lid, but it also helps a slight groove in the seal so that when we do seal the vault, it has a place that the vault naturally wants to sit. For Wilbert burial vaults, this is how we install the seal before the pouring process even begins. The butyl adhesive primer is installed, and then the seal is installed, and we use this tool to press the seal down into the groove of the lid, making sure that every square inch is covered. While we wait for that butyl adhesive primer to firm up a little bit, we can go ahead and put a base coat over the base of this Trigard estate. Trigard vaults are extremely similar to Wilbert, but you can also tell in this video that they're substantially shorter than Wilbert burial vaults, which means that the lid itself is even taller, because when they sit next to each other with the corner supports installed, they are almost the same height. So the major difference between a Trigard burial vault and a Wilbert burial vault is simply where the seal is placed. Both vaults use a very similar adhesive seal, and both vaults are a top seal burial vault. Some vault companies produce an air seal or a concrete air dome burial vault. At our vault company, the only type of air seal burial vault we install is a Clark galvanized steel burial vault, which are also extremely high quality. Now, because of my cameraman, you don't get to see the point where I actually set down the lid on top of the base to create the indentation on the seal, but I will be showing you here in just a minute how that process occurs. But right now I'm just installing the seal, and I'll be placing this lid down on the base to make sure that that seal is properly adhered into the cover of the lid. And while we do that, we leave the protective tape on to make sure we don't accidentally seal the burial vault, because chances are the vault will be null and void at that point. Even if we're lucky and the lid releases, there's going to be butyl adhesive all over the base of the liner itself, so that vault will not be able to be used. I've had situations where something is either left in the casket or something was forgotten to take out of the casket, and the vault needed to be opened up within minutes after the service completed, and the vault was lowered. Each time that has occurred, the vault seal itself did not give way. It was the liner of the burial vault that ended up breaking rather than the seal, which ended up requiring us to bring out a new lid for the burial vault. That just goes to show you that the concrete is there to protect the liner provides the burial vault seal, and the adhesive is what joins the base to the lid, making sure that this vault is air and watertight. For this Trigard estate, the process is the exact same. We will remove the lid, we will install the seal in the groove of the lid, and then we will place corner supports down on each end of the vault to make sure that the vault doesn't seal. And as I said earlier, these burial vaults can be personalized in almost any type of way. The Wilbert Monticello and the Trigard estate are both extremely similar in design, and they also are the starting point for sealed burial vaults for both brands. For this type of vault, the customization options are in general the color and the emblem. The nameplates are fairly standard across most burial vaults, but when it comes to the color, we've had families who have reached out to us, and funeral directors who have reached out on the family's accord and asked for something in particular. I've done a Wilbert Continental where I went to Sherwin-Williams and picked out the colors to try to match the vault to the Slytherin house colors from Harry Potter. I've done Cardinals themed vaults, Cubs themed vaults, Dallas Cowboy, New England Patriots, and I don't know how many times I've done Harley Davidson vaults, and it's one of my favorites to do. Finding different ways to use silver chrome spray paint to make chrome accents that resemble a Harley Davidson. And for the vaults that need a specialized emblem, we can print out basically anything over the top of a stainless steel sheet and use that as the emblem. And one thing we've done more than anything for an emblem on a vault that's custom is a fisherman. I feel like at this point, a fisherman's emblem should just be one of our standards. In most cases, the vault color is to resemble the colors on the casket. And no matter what a family chooses, whether it be a standard vault color with a standard emblem, we want to make sure that each committal service feels personable to a family. Because during that time, no matter what vault they choose, they deserve the best care and the best committal service we can possibly provide for them. So as this video nears its end, I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of a walkthrough of our shop and our manufacturing system. What you can see behind me here is our preparation area, where we get ready for all the vaults that go out in the next day or throughout the weekend. Over here we keep our Wilbert tributes, that's the gray and white exterior tributes. We then have our stainless steel triunes and all the vaults we prepared. This is our urn vault pouring area and our prep area that shows our services, and our painting area, which is obviously super clean. These are the vaults we've poured today. That's 4 Wilbert Monticellos, followed by Continentals, and then on the end you see the Wilbert Venetian, and on this side you see a Wilbert Monarch and 2 Graveliners. As we work our way down, we see the bases of those exact same vaults, the Monticellos, and then these are the 2 Trigard lids and the 2 Trigard bases. This is how our pouring operation works. Our conveyor system that takes the sand and gravel to the hopper to mix with the concrete and the water and our liquids. On this side is the sand, and on this side is the gravel. After each pour, we refill these for the next day's pour using that conveyor belt that runs outside to a hopper system. As you look down, you can see how the concrete, sand, and gravel falls onto the conveyor belt and leads its way up into the mixer, which is controlled by whoever's running the mixer for the day, and this is where the concrete is mixed. And I'll be honest, I've been in this industry for over 8 years, and I've never once had to clean this mixer. And every time I see somebody doing it, I feel horrible for them, because it is one heck of a dirty job. This is our storage area. On this end, we keep our Wilbert Continentals. It's 3 racks that each fit 12 Continentals, a rack that holds 36 Venetians. We can now hold 48 white Venetians, 48 Monticellos, 48 more, and 48 more, which we don't have right now, and 48 more of those. And then we can also hold 48 Graveliners at the end. And this is where we store our urn vaults. Back in the back, this is where we prep all of our liners and store most of our prep equipment. This is an upside down Venetian liner, which works for us to be able to prep each one of the seals and all of the liners. We place each cover liner upside down and install the seal using a butyl primer, and we press that in using a tool to make sure that the butyl adhesive seal is pressed into the liner. Without using the right tools and the right equipment, this vault will not be air and watertight. So we take our time with each and every cover liner to make sure that the seal is installed properly. From there, we move on to the storage for all of our base liners. Every month we pick up a truckload of liners from Wilbert and Chicago and bring them back and place them in storage. We keep hundreds of liners in stock and ready to be poured. And as I said before, Trigard uses a different type of adhesive. This is a water-activated adhesive, so it can be painted onto the bases and the lids at any time. Once the concrete is poured, The adhesive is activated and ready to go. And I've gotten plenty of thank yous over the years, but a real thank you goes out to Addison for cleaning the mixer on a regular basis. God bless you, brother.